All right, happy Saturday, everyone. Last Saturday of February. I'm sure the month flew. It's always a quick month, but this month seemed to go even quicker. But for, I know, at least a couple people on up in Canada where it's freezing, you probably are waiting for March with open arms. So welcome to Stir Crazy. This is our second Stir Crazy. It's actually really cold in my house, so ignore the hoodie and the vest. We never turn the heat on because in about 2 hours, it'll be hot. So it's ridiculous weather. I'm in Arizona, and my name's Tracy Castor. I've been a leader for about 9 or 10 months with Epicure. So Stir Crazy is really an event that we wanted to bring to our customers to be able to just talk through different things about our products and really be of service. So later, when you're giving feedback or talking to your consultant about this, don't be afraid to ask for other things that you might like. Oh, Stacy, are you going to mute everybody? Can you do that? Don't mute me. Yeah, can we get them all muted? That'd be perfect. So anyway, if you're brand new to Epicure, what is Epicure? So long, nearly 25-year history in Canada, just came in the US about 18 months ago. Think gluten-free, nut-free, meal solutions, spice blends, time-saving cookware, and amazing recipes all coupled together to really bring good food fast to tables all across North America. And I'm super proud to be part of this company. With that, with our time-saving recipes, our packages, meal solution. Somebody hold up your whatever, spatula, whatever you've got, your cookware. If this is your very first one, tell me. I want to see first Stir Crazy. I love it. Okay, so our meal solutions, if you haven't seen the back before, always come with directions on the back and often 2 or 3. But today we're really going to talk about off the label. So let's talk about some other ways to use these. Normally when you buy our meal solutions, they come in a bundle of 3. And while they're delicious and it's great to over a few weeks have the same thing a few times, it's also really nice to mix it up and just try different things. So, and it's one of my favorite things about Epicure, to be honest, is that if you're brand new to cooking, or if someone's just getting started out, or just is a real recipe follower, we've got it here for you. But if someone's a recipe rebel, and I know we have at least one on the Zoom, if you're a recipe rebel, or like my husband, who might walk in loudly at some point, he loves to open things and like smell, get all the aromas, and then just create crazy things out of it. God bless him for that. So I love that Epicure has something for everybody. And today what we're really going to do is look at our 3-week dinner collection. And if you're not familiar with that collection, it's fun to look at because it takes care of nighttime dinners for 3 full weeks. Monday to Friday kind of weeks, 15 in total, and you get one of each meal solution. So a great sampler pack, a great starter pack, a great way to introduce Epicure to someone, excellent housewarming gift, everything else. So we are going to go 1 week at a time through Sherry and Stacy and myself and talk to you about the 5 products in that week and really go through each one. So one more question before we move on to our week 1. Put it up for me, put your spatula up if you have gone off the label on your own before. So have you gone off label with one of ours? You have, that's amazing. I love it. I'm liking that blue ladle, by the way. Is that a dinosaur? Hold it up again. Oh, that's awesome. Dinosaur head, I love it. Okay. So, and we're gonna have some prizes. We always do the prizes after. It's just a bit easier. So it's gonna be fun. And if you have questions, pop them in the chat. And otherwise, at the end, we'll open it up for Q&A as well. So I'm gonna turn it over to Stacy to take us to week 1.
Yeah, hi guys. So I'm Stacy Woodworth. I'm in Sycamore, Illinois, and I'm so excited to bring this because I am a recipe follower. So raise your spoon if you consider yourself recipe follower, because what I love, and this is part of what drew me to Epicure, right, is I didn't have to figure all this out. I know Rachel Ray, Bobby Flay, all those things, because all of these packets had the recipe right on the back, as well as if you guys know about some of our different collections, I have this printed because it has the meal plan and it has the grocery shopping list. So sometimes I'll ad lib and I'll do, whatever veggie we have, but I like to have the structure and the recipe. Now that's where I'm blessed with friends like Tracy and Sherry who are stretching me, because Epicure also then gives me the confidence that I can do stuff. I really don't think any of us can mess these up. And I've tried, not on purpose, but I've tried. So I'm going to share with you week 1. So again, this is 5 of those 15 meals. I'm just making sure if everybody is muted. So this one has a couple of our favorites. And actually what I'm going to do while I'm talking through some of the others, I'm going to show you guys. So this is, think busy weeknight. You're getting home from work or school, and then you've got to get back out. You've got to go to practice. You've got to go to dance. You have scouts. You have all the things. So this is literally like the 5-minute dinner. And I did a little bit of prep work ahead of time, but raise your spatula if you have ever just done ground meat in your steamer. So that's all I did ahead of time. Favorite ground meat. And I just use my favorite tool is actually this ground meat separator. But you guys, this is the dinner that you need if you just need fast, super duper fast. So I'm going to show you another idea for our creamy, I always get this wrong, creamy pesto Parmesan chicken. So if you have not had this, let me start with, by the label, it is fantastic. It is your favorite Italian restaurant type meal. Gourmet, rich flavors like chicken and spinach, all the things. But we have to get back out the door, right? Like, we're busy people. So all I'm going to do, and you guys are going to love this, I'm going to combine this seasoning pack with a can of crushed tomatoes, pantry staples that we have. All I did ahead of time was like I said, I ground up some ground meat, but this is, so when Tracy said housewarming gift, like if you have that college age student or your young adult child that's moving away, like it doesn't get any easier than this. 1 package of this, 1 can of crushed tomatoes. And all we're going to do is mix that up. And we're going to have the most rich marinara, like creamy marinara sauce. So that, like, if you love that garlic red sauce when they do it at a restaurant, that's how fast and easy this is. So I'm going to get that cooking. And then we're going to pop in noodles and dinner will be done. But you guys, so 1 can, big can of crushed tomatoes, creamy Parmesan pesto chicken. Raise your spatula if you could do an easy dinner like that and win for the night, right? So this is so good. And of course, what I love, everything with Epicure is gluten-free. So I'm just going to add in my favorite gluten-free noodles, or you could do your zoodles, right? So that has just got a big old, I'm going to put it in my round steamer. I'm going to pop that in while I talk to you guys about the rest of the week. Give me 1 second. All right, just checking on my noodles also. So that's so easy, right? And what is great is that could be a kiddo had started that, a hubby started that, dinner is done super fast. Now this first week also includes some, one of the new favorites. So if you have been checking out our catalog this season, you probably have heard about, or you've hopefully tried rotisserie chicken. Yes, it is fantastic, better, healthier than your store bought rotisserie chicken, but you can do it at home fast. Do it in your steamer in just 20, 25 minutes, or do it in your Dutch oven. It doesn't matter, but we're going to go off label today. And did you know that this is just a fantastic seasoning or rub that you can put on your potatoes and roast them? Or we'll do chicken breasts or chicken thighs just as a sheet pan. But again, great flavors in here without all the extra crud. I'm also Susie Simple. So you're going to notice these guys are going to show you some killer things. I'm starting it off like, I'm like the warm-up act. I'm going to share with you simple stuff. So raise your spatula if you can just sprinkle some seasoning onto potatoes and protein, because that's where rotisserie chicken is super versatile. Just great, great flavors. So not to be outdone, my other favorite that I have been sharing a ton in our cooking classes lately is General Tao. So I'm gluten-free and I love all the Asian things because no MSG, no gluten, right? And I love this as a General Tao. The sauce and over a bed of rice. I also told you I'm Susie Simple. I love this just on plain protein. So chicken thighs, chicken wings, chicken breasts, chicken tenders, doesn't matter. I will sprinkle some of this, put it on the meat. If you want to add a little bit of a soy sauce or an acid like a vinegar, that's what the fancy girls over here tell me to do. I literally just put a little bit of oil in this and I put it into the oven, sheet pan, General Tao. My favorite veggies or veggies I have on hand, I love to do this with chicken breast cut up, broccoli, and bell peppers. It is gorgeous and it is fast, just as a sheet pan dinner. So that's the General Tao. Pad Thai. Now this is one that personally we love it just as it is. So I will go on label. Really great to be able to make Pad Thai at home and swap out different veggies or different protein. Maybe you want to do it with chicken or shrimp. So fast with shrimp. There's also what I want to encourage on this one is there's some really great recipes right on epicure.com. And we're going to share with you later that if you go to epicure.com, you can just type in your product, whether it's a meal solution pack or a seasoning. What else can I do with Pad Thai? There are a lot of recipe ideas on this one, a Brinner recipe, so this breakfast dinner thing, in a bowl, a lot of great recipes. But again, Epicure makes it easy. All the spices are in here, so you don't need to know how much garlic and ginger and all those things. It is done for you. So that's the Pad Thai. And then enchilada. So also new to our line this year, the enchilada sauce is the easy button on enchiladas. Has anybody ever made enchilada sauce from raw ingredients before? Raise your spatula. I used to do this prior to Epicure. Why? This makes it so easy. You can have this rich enchilada sauce with water and some tomato paste. Off label though, I love this for an enchilada soup. So we're coming out of winter, hopefully, but this is just a really great hearty soup. So that's the enchilada seasoning. And again, you're going to find recipes on the website. There's some other great ones with chicken and zoodles or making up like an enchilada bowl. Imagine using that sauce with some cooked up chicken, or maybe it's your taco night leftovers, but you just drizzle a little bit of the enchilada sauce on top to change that up. So we're going to get the sauce out. I'm going to show you guys. That was 4 minutes. Hang on 1 second. My sous chef left the room. So while that was cooking, I also just did some noodles in our multi-pot, right? I love this. It just strains right there. So look at that. Like I could have been getting my scout dressed into his uniform or whatever else. I just dumped this all in here. And raise your spatula if you are one for the least amount of dirty dishes. So I browned my Italian sausage in here. I made my spaghetti sauce and I just dumped in the noodles. And I have a huge bowl now of this rich pasta dinner. So this is a really great one on the ready, fast and ready quickly. So that's how we can take care of week 1 with some different ideas. And I'm going to pass it over. Oh gosh, who's going next? Sherry.
Yep, that would be me. I think Stacy deserves a little bit of a wave there because Susie Simple is learning. Like being a recipe rebel it's hard. And I agree with her. I love the simplicity of grabbing a meal pack, knowing exactly what's on the back of it. And I even grocery shop according to these meal packs because if I know I'm having this week, I look and go, okay, I need pineapple or I need ground beef or whatever it is on the recipe. So I do love the recipes, but by nature, I am a huge recipe rebel. So it's like, we go from Stacy who's learning to me who I have trouble measuring ingredients, guys. Like people will say, what did you put in that? And I go, I don't know. So cooking off label comes naturally to me because I taught myself how to cook. My mom was the Susie Simple like Stacy. So I had to, if I wanted to experiment in different flavors that maybe my parents didn't like, it was all up to me. So I just would throw a little of this in and a little of that in. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting to know your seasonings and what's in the ingredients. So sometimes just going to your package and going, well, what does it have in it? And you go, oh, it's got bell peppers, it's got green peppers. That would go with, and you think about something else that you've had before that has those ingredients. And just like that, you've got some magic happening already because you're understanding what's in it. So I have a really simple recipe that's actually, and you know what, my mom's a great cook, but some of her recipes, I evolved them. So I'm going to start with the sweet and sour stir fry, which is absolutely fabulous as per label. Love it. We all love it. It's a family favorite, but I love the flavor of sweet and sour stir fry and I wanted something else. And for decades, my mom has made sweet and sour sauce using ketchup. Raise your spatula if you've ever done that, where you make sweet and sour sauce using ketchup. That's like an old generation. I don't know what cookbook it came out of, maybe the Puritan cookbook, but it was ketchup and brown sugar and vinegar, and that was your sweet and sour sauce. So I leveled it up. So I've got some ketchup already measured. It's about a cup. I didn't actually measure it, guys, sorry. But it is about a cup. I told my husband it was a cup a couple nights ago and he said that worked. So these are just pantry staples again, just some ketchup. Now I actually measured for you guys because I just eyeball it, but it's a half cup of brown sugar. You could go less or more. It depends on your personal tastes. And if you're watching your sugars, you can use a sugar alternative, like a stevia or something like that. You could also use maple syrup, is amazing in this as well, as is honey. So really the sweetness is totally your choice. Then I've got a 1/4 cup of vinegar. And I've got some water on reserve because usually you want this. I'm going to pour a little bit in, but this is where I don't measure exactly because you just want to kind of make it as a sort of nice little mixture of a sauce where it's still got some of the ketchup thickness, but you want it to go a little bit further than the thickness of the ketchup. So I'm going to say probably a 1/4 cup, but sometimes you might need that a little bit more depending on what brand of ketchup. I find the cheaper brands of ketchups aren't as thick. So then I usually don't need as much water. Whereas if you go with the more expensive brands, they're thicker. There's a little bit more. So that's the sauce base. And then I just take the sweet and sour stir fry and I put that right in. And that takes care of all the seasoning. So that's where I leveled it up. My mom used to stop here and I add this. This is like, oh my goodness, the flavor out of this with your meatballs is just amazing. So you could also do this, on over ribs or chicken wings. You could do it over anything and you just mix up the sauce. Then I already had these made up. And I'm going to tell you, I was a little bit of a recipe rebel, even with my meatballs. This is not part of the 3-week dinners, but I didn't know what to season my meatballs today. So I decided to be a recipe rebel and I threw beef stroganoff as the flavor for my meatballs. Why not? If it goes with beef, flavor it up. So I was out of the meatloaf seasoning. I don't know how that happened, but I just decided that sounds good. I use it on ground beef. Why wouldn't it work for meatballs? And let me tell you, it's amazing. So then you just pour the sauce in. Now, normally I would throw this in the oven or the microwave. The microwave would take about 10 minutes because you want it to kind of caramelize that sweet and sour sauce. Probably start with 8 minutes, depends on your microwave. But if you look in the oven, I would probably put it on for 15 or 20 minutes, but it really makes a really nice coating for your meatballs. You can throw it in a crock pot. What I'm going to do is actually just as they are, they're going to go into my freezer because that's meal prep for me for this week. So that is one way of using the sweet and sour stir fry that's off label. Now, how else can you use that? Well, I'm going to tell you, if you want to change something on the label, but follow the label mostly, one small change, and I think it was actually Tracy Pastor who taught me this, was if you don't have pineapple, swap it for ketchup. Why not? You're getting the sweetness of the ketchup. It's okay that you didn't have the pineapple, just swap it out. I think that she just gives a really good squirt. So I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup, Tracy. And anyway, so also you could take that same sauce that I just did and put that on pork chops and bake them in the oven. So you've got sweet and sour pork chops. I get a lot of my recipe rebels by looking on Pinterest of how did somebody else use sweet and sour sauce. So I looked up sweet and sour cauliflower. That sounds amazing. I would love to do that. You just toss it in the sauce and then roast the cauliflower. That sounds incredible. I think I'm going to be trying that next. You can also do something called sweet and sticky tofu, which I've never heard of. So if you are vegetarian, vegan, or pescatarian, you're looking for different protein sources, sweet and sticky tofu sounds like an amazing option to me. And of course, you could use that just as a seasoning base for any stir fry. So that is the sweet and sour stir fry. Now, this next one is used so much in my house. We use it, of course, by label because it is delicious taco seasoning. But we also use it in a number of different ways. One of my favorite things to do for meal prep is actually exactly what Stacy did and cook up some ground meat and toss in the seasoning. Have it all cooked up and then freeze that, because that's a quick go-to for nachos or for any night that you're having, you know, kind of a quick need to grab meal. I went on our recipe index to see what else there is on our recipe finder. And this I've never made, but it is on my must try it list. Cheesy taco pasta. Doesn't that just sound amazing? So it's like our seasoning, it's cheese, it's pasta, it's all those really good things. You could add other things as well. Like I'm sure you could add beans or corn or whatever you want that seasons it up with peppers, whatever. It's kind of like that. You use it, you know what the flavor is going to be as a base, and you just build from there. Start with the basic. If you're comfortable with the label, start experimenting with what else that might taste good in. Also, I looked this one up also on our recipe finder, taco spiced quinoa. You can also add some beans to add yourself a protein. That sounds amazing because I love flavored quinoa. And often I will do a nourish bowl with leftover taco seasoning and stuff. And if the quinoa was already flavored with the taco seasoning, that would be amazing for me. My favorite thing to do lately is taco soup. And that's where you get to play with your protein. You can go from using it with black beans or kidney beans. You could use chicken, you could use ground beef, lots of ways that you can use taco. This is a great base flavor for any Mexican dish, honestly. And you don't have to use the whole package. You could measure it out. If something calls for a couple tablespoons of taco seasoning, open up that packet and you'll see that we all love to grab the bottom and open it up at the bottom, because then I can fold that up with a clip and still know what's in it instead of folding the label down too. All right, next one, Thai red curry. Now this one, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a super big recipe rebel with this one before. I've used it as per label, delicious, love it. And I've used it for the Thai red curry soup, which I love. That's actually my favorite way to use it, is you follow the recipe exactly as it is, but you add 3 cups of chicken broth or nourish broth or whatever kind of broth you want to use. Veggie broth would be fantastic as well. And it becomes a soup. Delicious, simple. You don't have to be a super huge recipe rebel. You could be like Stacy and be simple Sally, right? You're just adding broth, but that's cooking off label a little bit. All right, now I want you guys to tell me, raise your spatulas if you have ever thought of putting this into a meatball. I don't know if I'm going to see anybody, because this one, guys, I went to Pinterest and I went, what else can I do with this? I don't know. I can't even raise this. And I am a super big recipe rebel, but I started thinking about it and I read on this recipe and I'm like, this is amazing for flavor. So why wouldn't it be good in a turkey meatball? So that's going to be something I'm going to try, because I know that the flavors of red bell pepper and the organic palm sugar and the herbs and the garlic and the cayenne pepper, my goodness, that is going to flavor meats amazingly. I might even try a meatloaf. So really at this, I mean, it's a brand new one that I'm going to be experimenting with. But like I said, once you know the base flavor of things, that's when you can start layering things up. So what else can you do with this? Well, Thai red curry chicken thighs. So you mix this just as though you were making the Thai red curry, but you throw chicken thighs in it instead. Skip the veggies or put the veggies in if you want, and then put that into the oven. Oh my goodness. Who thinks that that sounds like an easy dinner to do? All you're doing is following the label, but you're putting your protein in differently. Raise your spatula if that doesn't sound too hard. All right. So it's just sometimes when you're changing up your recipes, it's just making it look a little bit differently by changing your format of your protein, right? All right. So Thai red curry, you can use in a lot more ways than maybe you've thought about. And even myself as an experienced recipe rebel, that's one that I'm going to be playing with a lot. Now the next one is beef and broccoli. Now everybody knows this one. Everybody loves this one. It is so delicious. Like if we're talking about better than takeout, who has had the beef and broccoli? Raise your spatula or your spoon if you've had the beef and broccoli. Raise your spatula if you've not had the beef and broccoli but want to try it, because I mean, who doesn't love beef and broccoli, right? All right. Now, I mean, if you are vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, and you're not a beef eater, let me tell you, you can use any protein in this and it is fabulous. Like absolutely fabulous. The flavor in this is probably the most authentic beef and broccoli flavor outside of a restaurant that I have ever had, bar none. But what else can you use it for? Well, imagine doing a turkey and broccoli skillet. Simple as can be. You're doing ground turkey, you're doing the broccoli, you're adding the seasoning. It's just, I mean, that just sounds delicious. What about a no beef stir fry? So maybe you're not cooking with beef, but you have these great shiitake mushrooms that you want to use. Oh my goodness, throw them in with this and start stir frying. This is an amazing base just for any stir fry. But beyond stir fries, who loves an Asian soup? Who loves like an Asian noodle soup? Anybody like those? I do. I'm a big fan. So you can use this as your flavoring, your base. So instead of, if you didn't have any broth that was maybe your miso broth or something, you could use this as your base for your soup. Who thinks that using a base for a soup might be an easy way to be a recipe rebel? Give me a stir up if you're thinking that. All right, so that's beef and broccoli, and there's so many ways you could use this. I know on our recipe index there is also steamer beef and broccoli pasta, which I have tried. It's with ground beef, also changing up your protein. It is delicious as well. Now there is one more, and I have been a recipe rebel with this one, pulled pork, but not really off label. If I really think about it, I was probably more like a simple Sally with it because I was just using the leftovers in different ways. So make the recipe as per label. It makes a ton. I think it's like 16 servings. I'd have to look at the label a little bit, but 20 portions, sorry, my goodness, like 20 portions. What am I gonna do with that? I have a family of 5 and I count my husband as 2. So we really have a family of 6. But I mean, 20 portions, you have to be creative with what you're doing with your leftovers. So I put it on pizza, amazing, with a barbecue sauce, some pineapple, some red onions, some peppers on a pizza crust. Amazing. You can use some feta cheese, or you can use mozzarella cheese, cheddar cheese, or a combination of all 3. It is just amazing. It tastes like your pub flatbreads. Delicious. Pulled pork nachos. Oh my goodness, those are so good. Just your same ingredients kind of thing, what you would put on, you know, your nachos, but you're going to use pulled pork as your protein. Now, if I'm going to be a real true recipe rebel, I've got to figure out a way that I would use them differently. So who has made the pulled pork before? Give me a stir up with your spoon if you've made this pulled pork before. All right. Now, it is an amazing old barbecue sauce-like flavor, right? So imagine if we think of that for the sauce is almost like a barbecue sauce flavor. You can use this for anything that you would put barbecue sauce on. So in that way, you could put any protein on your barbecue and baste it with your pulled pork seasoning. You could put ribs in your oven and coat it with your pulled pork seasoning. You could make meatloaf and baste it, season half a packet and baste it on the top, make a sauce with the pulled pork as your sauce over your meatloaf. So if you really think about back to the basics on what is in this, we're talking onion and chili powder and chipotle and cayenne. What does that sound like? It sounds like barbecue sauce to me. So that's where I get those ideas from. So that is week 2 with a bonus of, guys, I use beef stroganoff in my meatballs. They're amazing. My husband and I snuck a couple. You got to try it. And don't be afraid to try. That's the thing. Don't be afraid, because I mean, Epicure seasonings are so forgiving in the ways that they're used that I think you could use something in just about any way and you'd get it right. So I'm going to pass the torch or the spoon off to Tracy Castor, who's got some more fun stuff. And I wish I was at her house tonight because she's got something that's delicious to share.
Thanks, Sherry. Okay, first things first, raise your spoon if you're really hungry, because I am suddenly really hungry listening to all this. But I'm going to tell you something really funny that happened while I muted myself while Sherry was talking. So, and right now I have a teenager wandering through the kitchen. My youngest came home with a friend, had no idea I was on here, and saw me do this with my spoon and did this. And thank goodness I wasn't on camera because I don't think I could have kept it together. It took me a couple minutes. I think he thought he was going to get whacked by running by me with the spoon. Anywho, welcome to week 3. I'm similar to Sherry. I have my packet cut from the bottom because then they stand. And what I love about this, especially if you're making the meatloaf or something else, when it stands, you can read the back of it without picking up the package and flipping it over, whatever. So I love cutting the bottom off them as well, Sherry. It's a great idea. I'm going to be cooking with the Donaire seasoning. Give me a spoon if you have tried the Donaire. Used to be called Gyros Gyro, if you want to say it that way. Anybody tried it? It's honestly super delicious. It is a Turkish style meat that normally you bake in the rectangular steamer or in a meatloaf pan, and then slice very thinly after it's cooled and put it in a pita bread with a sauce. It really has notes of garlic, onion, oregano, fantastic. And if anybody is on from Eastern Canada, it's our street meat. I grew up not in Eastern Canada, in Ontario, but my husband's from Eastern Canada, so I've been there lots, and it's a good late night street meat, Donaire. But we are gonna make Donaire egg rolls today. So I'm gonna start off with that, and then I'll talk about the other things in week 3. Similar to Stacy, I have meat in here. Mine is actually uncooked. The Donaire package calls for beef. I'm using pork. I love ground pork. It's one of my favorites, but you could do this with turkey or chicken, whatever you like. Similar to Stacy's point, I'm using my meat separator, and I'm just giving this a good chop up to get it all broken up. The recipe, and this is actually a recipe you can find on the Epicure website. It has, it calls for 1/2 cup of water. And if you were using beef, that's probably pretty accurate. But pork is a lot wetter than beef, as is ground chicken or turkey. So if you're subbing any of those in any of these recipes, and there's a liquid called for, if you're using ground pork, chicken, or turkey, I would put in about half the liquid and then see what you think. Specifically because I'm going to be making these into egg rolls. I don't want it wet. So I'm going to start with just half the ingredients, or half the water that it calls for, which is this little guy. So I'm just putting in about 1/4 cup of water, and I'm putting in, so I made a pack of these already this morning because I wanted them to be done so I could show you at the end. So I'm opening my second Donaire. We'll get this stirred in. Yep. Oh my goodness, that smells amazing. So let's talk about the Donaire and some other things you can do with it other than what I'm showing you, and other than the traditional way. This makes an excellent burger. Turn it up the other way. Absolutely delicious to make a burger out of this. Again, it's got that amazing oregano, garlic, onion flavor going on. You can also, and this is also on our website, there's an amazing Donaire Hot Dip. So this sounds incredible to me. I have to make this. So think of the white Donaire sauce. If you're a Donaire lover, you know that sauce, along with ground beef. What else was in it? Cheese, cream cheese, all baked. So I've got that chopped up. I'm going to pop this in the microwave for 4 minutes while I talk to you about the other things. Okay. Actually, first I'm going to make my Donaire sauce. So I'm going to do that so it can sit. So I have got, and again, this recipe is just called Donaire Egg Rolls. You'll find it right on our website. And essentially, I am just putting together about 2/3 of a cup of sweetened condensed milk, just the stuff out of the can. If you've had this sauce before, if you've had a Donaire sauce, you know it's like a garlicky, sweet white sauce would be how I would liken it. Just checking to see, 1/4 cup of vinegar, and I've used plain white vinegar. You could probably use rice vinegar too. I don't think you'd want to use an apple cider vinegar, in my opinion. I think that would be a bit strong. And it's calling for a teaspoon of our roasted garlic aioli, which is a favorite. I have probably a little more than a teaspoon. So I might use more of it because we love garlic. So I used about 1.5 teaspoons. And I'm just going to mix that together and let it sit, let those flavors, that sweet and acidic, come together. They balance out and make a heck of a nice sauce. Get it all stirred up. And then I will talk through my other weeks for myself. Well, and I'll even show you an egg roll too. Okay, so what else do we have in our week 3? We already talked about the Donaire. We have butter chicken. Give me a spatula, mine's a little dirty now, if you have tried the butter chicken. All right, give me a spatula if you're a little afraid to try the butter chicken because you're not sure if you like curry. That's okay. That's okay. So let me tell you, this is flavors. If you're following the recipe on here, think coconut, tomato, very mild curry. I would say no spice, in my opinion. If you want to even dull down that curry, I can tell you, I make it all the time for my kiddos with mango. Put in frozen mango or slice up fresh mango, put it in right at the end because the mango doesn't really need to cook. It just needs to get warm. It's delicious. It comes out like a mango chicken that you would order at an Indian restaurant. Really, really tasty. But other great things you can do with it is you can make a pulled butter chicken. So similar to following the recipe for a pulled pork, but use this flavor instead, making like a sandwich out of it at the end. Really great way to use the pulled chicken, following the same recipe, because really the breakdown of meat, that breakdown you get when you do a pulled pork or a pulled chicken is all about the acidic balance in there. So as long as you're having the ketchup or something like that, in this case, it would be a can of crushed tomatoes, I think is what it called. Yep, crushed tomatoes. And that's actually something I want to point out too. I know, especially here, or at least local to me, a lot of people sometimes comment that there's ketchup in a number of things, but they'd like to reduce the sugar. That's always an option to swap in a can of crushed tomatoes, or depending on how much ketchup it is, swap in crushed tomatoes, plain, and not tomato sauce, because that's not the same thing. Tomato sauce usually has sugar and a variety of other things added. Canned crushed tomatoes usually has salt, although you can buy unsalted, and it might have ascorbic acid for to keep the color and the freshness, but it doesn't have any sugar or anything added. So it's a great way, just in general, if you're swapping any recipe where you don't want it to be quite so sweet. I know I have a customer that finds the pulled chicken recipe a little on the sweet side, so I always recommend swapping out tomato. So that's not about week 3, that's just a tip in general. Tomato and crushed tomato and ketchup are great swap outs. Other things with this, fantastic for nachos. If you slice these small, season it, so now you're gonna have more of like an Indian flavored nacho. Grilled flatbread, that's a recipe on our website. It's so delicious. You grill your naan bread and then this on top and whatever, maybe arugula, red onion, other things that you might enjoy, and also in a wrap. So as a leftover butter chicken in a wrap. And remember, if you're afraid to try some of these meal solutions, a great way to get it is to in the 3-week dinner collection, because you're just getting one of each. So you're not going to be left with 2 others if it really isn't your palate style. Okay, I'm going to grab the meat. And I'm going to talk next about the crispy Asian lettuce wrap, one of our new ones. Because I'm going to let this cool so it doesn't burn me. And my husband, I'm going to tell you, you guys want to see something funny? He's calling me right now. He knows I'm on a live. That boy. Raise your spatula if your spouse never listens to you. I can't believe he's calling me right now. It's making me laugh. Oh my goodness. Oh well. So I'm just chopping this up and really integrating so that the liquid is spread evenly out, because I don't want to get mushy egg rolls. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to talk about the crispy lettuce wraps. Who's tried these? They're brand new. They're delicious. As they are, they actually call for ground pork, which is my favorite way. Again, ground pork's like the favorite in our house. But I've made them with turkey, chicken. I've made them with beef. They're great with all of them. I've never done the tofu, but I'm sure it would be good if you like tofu. But other things to think about when you're making these, I mean, it's good to put, when I first made these, my kids said to me, and my kids are eaters, they love food. They said, Mom, we don't eat lettuce wraps. So I went to the pantry, I grabbed some hard shell tacos, I dropped the whole lettuce wrap in the taco, and I said, you now have Asian tacos, eat dinner. And they ate it. It was funny. It's just like a little, you can move things around as you need to for your kiddos. But I also love to mix this up and put it in half peppers. So I didn't bring a pepper over with me, but a sweet pepper, if you cut it, to make it like a little mini bowl. Fill this up, pop it in the oven with a bit of cheese on top. It's almost like a nacho, but without the carbs, especially if you're trying to be keto. That's a great way to do that. Other options are as a noodle stir fry. So use this as your stir fry seasoning for this one. And I think you could also use as a soup base, to Sherry's point, a nice Asian soup base. I also believe this would be really delicious, similar to what I'm doing today, to create the filling and make it into dumplings using wonton wrappers. Super simple. You just would put a little spoon in the middle and then either bring the wonton up like a top on it and twist it shut, or you could fold it over like a little triangle. Bit of egg wash if you need to close it, but actually you're gonna see when I work with these egg rolls in about 2 seconds that you don't even really need an egg wash to close them over. They actually will close perfectly fine with just wet fingers. It's gonna move my things around here. Okay, I'll do the last two and then I'm gonna show you my egg roll making skills. Alfredo, I mean, who doesn't love the Alfredo? Put your hand up if you love the Alfredo. I love the Alfredo, it's so good. Creamy notes of creamy garlic in there, really fantastic. This is a great, if you own the multi-purpose steamer, a great way to do a whole skillet meal in your steamer. So stay with me. You do your ground beef or ground turkey or ground chicken, just like we did, or a nice thinly chopped chicken or anything like that. And so you put it in the steamer, get it cooked, take it out, put it aside. Then make your sauce right in the steamer. I'm such a big fan of one pot. I'm with you, Stacy. I hate extra dishes. And then at the very end, you throw in either small bits of broccoli or whatever your vegetable is, and all at once in for about 2 minutes, just to do it all together. Oh my goodness, super, super simple. I make pasta bake with this all the time. My kids are really big eaters, so I'll be honest, I'm only gonna do it in the steamer if it's just for my kids, because that won't feed the 5 of us. It might feed the 3 of them for lunch, but it won't feed the 5 of us. So I would double it and I would do a big lasagna pan, similar, do a protein, the sauce, either a broccoli or a cauliflower, even Brussels sprouts. I know everyone's like, Brussels sprouts. I cut them on my mandolin super thin. My kids don't even know what they are, but actually they've been calling them pony cabbage since they were little, so they generally eat them anyway. Also amazing for scalloped potatoes. Make it just the way you would. Pour it over your potatoes, a little bit of extra cheese. So good. And actually it's not in this collection, but the mac and cheese, also great. Not in my week anyway. Mac and cheese also is fantastic for scalloped potatoes. Making sure I didn't miss any on here that I wanted to say. Okay, and last but not least, who's afraid, show me your spatula, to try the buffalo wing because they think it's too hot? It's got a medium heat. So think bold and tangy, medium heat. And I'll be honest with you, when we make this straight out, it's sometimes a little on the hot side for me. I like a little heat. My husband loves this one. We make it quite regularly. Great for chicken wings. Recipe for that's right on the back. But let's talk about some other ways you can use it. Roasting a head of cauliflower, the entire head of cauliflower. Okay, you just take out the bottom leaf part, but you can actually leave the core a little. Just you take out like a pyramid in the core and leave the rest all one piece. Little bit of egg wash over the top or a little bit of oil, sprinkle some of this on and right into a 400-degree oven on one of our sheet pans, and you get a beautiful whole head roasted cauliflower. It looks pretty. And you're only putting this on the outside. So yes, you're still gonna get a little bit of heat and some bites, but there can be bites underneath for people who don't like the heat. And you can always do a sauce on the side. My favorite sauce to dull the heat of this is our prepared ranch dip. That's what I use. If it's too hot for me, and we're making it into a sandwich or into a roll or something like that, I use a little ranch on the side. It really balances out the heat. There's also an amazing recipe, and we'll share the links to these after. It's a buffalo nacho chicken dip. Who's had that? What's it called? I think it's just normally called buffalo chicken dip. People call it like buffalo crack. I think I've heard it even called. It's like a hot dip that's very common at people are over in the afternoon. It's got shredded chicken, cheese, and a buffalo. Normally you make it with Frank's hot sauce. We have a recipe for making that out of this. And of course, without the colored dyes and the extra sugar and the MSGs and all the other things that come with prepackaged products. Again, if you like spice, you can blend this in as breading for your chicken fingers along with panko if you're doing that, or mix some in with a Southern Bake, which is a product of ours if you want it gluten-free. Just seeing if I missed anything on here. Yes, and the other thing I will remind people is to really read the label on this one. So the very first time I made it, I looked at all the ingredients, I dumped the whole package in and I mixed it up. I ate it and burnt my mouth off. I was like, how can it be this hot? Yeah, because if you read it, it tells you you only put in a tablespoon of it. Read the package, Tracy. You use the rest for something else. The rest is you actually sprinkle it, some of it dry, and you make the sauce with just some of it. I made the sauce with all of it, and it's too hot then. But if you like hot, maybe that's your jam. So let's go on. We're gonna look at my egg rolls. So if you've never bought egg rolls, they kind of package, they look like this. Like usually they're in a cooler section, sort of in where, often in where like the vegetarian meat replacement things are, like where you find tofu. It's usually where you find these super flimsy, thin, yummy. You can do so many things with egg roll wraps, by the way. I almost always have these or wontons in my kitchen. I'm gonna spoon it out and I'll hold it up as I go so that you can see it. And I'm just, so this, by the way, is all just done. It's like ground donaire meat, essentially, is what we got going on here. And it's finally cool enough that I'll be able to wrap this because I was worried it was gonna be a little too hot for my hands. So I've put it in, I wanna keep it sort of, I'll come closer, sort of in the middle. And then I'm gonna fold in an end. I will bring it up so you can see. Fold in an end, fold in an end. And when I get to this end, I'm gonna get my fingers wet. So I have a little bowl of just water and just put it underneath like that. So it's like glue, it's gonna stick it right in. I'm gonna stand this guy up, he looks like this now. Stand him up, little wet fingers. I can actually do this one up here so you can really see. And just fold it over. Super simple, little round egg roll. And I actually, when I cook these, so I did a batch already today because I didn't want you to have to wait for me to cook them. And I'm going to show you those in one sec. I cook them in my air fryer. So I happen to own an air fryer, but you don't have to have an air fryer. This is not an ad for air fryers. My husband loves his air fryer. But you could you could deep fry these if you wanted to. I won't tell you that's the healthiest way, but you could completely deep fry these. They'd probably be really delicious. But you can also just cook them on a sheet pan, and I'm going to show you the rack that would probably work best. Let me just wrap up one more so that we can see them. So again, like a little hood on there, and you just fold it down and sort of force them into round. And they may look a little unusual. They may look like they're floppy. They're going to be fine. Because I'm doing them in the air fryer, you would also want to do this if you were doing it in the oven. I'm going to put a quick egg wash on them. And that's just a beaten egg. That's all that's in this bowl. A little bit of this straight on here. And it goes in so my air fryer only actually holds 4 at a time because we have a smaller one. So it goes straight in my air fryer. When I'm off camera later, I'll put 3 more in there. Just gonna wipe my hand off. And those took in my air fryer at 400 degrees. They took 8 minutes and I flipped them once in the middle. So 8 minutes, 400 degrees, flipped them once in the middle. Some air fryers I know are better at convection. You might not need to flip those, but look at these beauties that came out of there. They turned out so good. They are perfect little egg rolls. And we're gonna actually eat them tonight. So I'm gonna just reheat them right on this sheet pan. I will say if you're doing them in the oven, you definitely wanna get them up. So see, I've used our new rack here. You wanna get them up so the air gets around them. Otherwise the bottom is gonna get soggy. So the rack, and if your air fryer has an optional rack, you want it in for the same reason, just to keep it up. And these are going to be amazing. And then of course, dipped on the side with my Donaire sauce. So I am very, very excited about my Donaire egg rolls, which also is something I never made. I decided that I would give something brand new a try just to show you that running off the label isn't so scary. That's the end of our week 3. I'm going to pass it back to Sherry.
And I think I'm going to pass it over to Stacy. Stacy, are you next or is it me?
Yeah, we can go either way. What we wanted to do, I'll just jump in and then you can share. So you guys, first of all, we just thank you every time that you show up to these. We bring this to you because we want you to find added value with the products, but we want you to leave here then with some steps, right? So we just talked through 15 packages, but those ladies shared multitude of recipes. I hope that at least a few of them sparked you and you will put them in your meal plan for this week. And we want to see those pictures. So snap a picture, send it to your consultant, snap a picture, post it in her customer group. That is really helpful. We love that because it helps us to share that with other people. It also helps inspire us. So selfishly, we love to see that as well. So our challenge is just to use your Epicure. pick one of those meal solution packs that you love and find a new way to do it. And then pick that one that was scaring you. You raised your hand because that Thai red curry was scary. Let's try something new. We've been doing home cooking for 11 months solid. Let's mix it up. Let's try something new and just experiment with it, right? And again, so you can let us know if you want to see more of these recipes. Also, you can go onto our websites because, like I said, you can search by the product. So Sherry's got some other tips, and we're going to wrap it up and tell you about next month. So thank you so much for all of you who are here.
Awesome. So guys, I want to actually, Stacy, can you make me host for a moment? I want to show a couple of things on screen because sometimes we don't know the tools that are in our toolbox that are so ready for us to use. So I am going to share my screen real quick to show you guys, and show you guys an amazing way that you can be a recipe rebel, but not have to do the scary stuff of inventing things. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see it now. I just took it, it automatically goes to my own personal website, but if you go onto any epicure.com website, your consultants, your own, wherever, and you look at this top label up here, there's a whole pile of little ways that you can search this website, and one of them says recipes. Now, what does that do? There's two ways, guys, that you can find new recipes. One is our meal plans, which, let me tell you, some of these recipe rebels ideas have come from these meal plans. They are fantastic. Epicure Home Office is already doing Recipe Rebel for you. You've got so many options that you can go through here and find different ways to use your product. So if you look at, for instance, you look at our what's for dinner, actually our winter warm up, we'll open that real quick. And you scroll through that, through the winter warm up, you can already see lettuce wraps are in here. So we know it's also part of the winter warm up. It's in the 3-week dinner collection as well. There's going to be another recipe in here. And I can tell you, I've had it. It's amazing. It's the udon, ground beef udon noodle stir fry. Does not look like an Asian lettuce wrap, does it? But let me tell you, it was probably one of the top recipes I've tried in our family so far that was like off the charts, loved by everybody. So there's one way that you can be a recipe rebel just by using the website. So how else can we do another recipe rebel? Well, look here. Instead of going to meal plans, let's click recipes instead. So then if you scroll down, now I love this tool. I love Epicure has recently updated this recipe finder. It is amazing. So I can type in crispy, crunchy lettuce wrap. If I could type it properly, it helps to be corrected your spelling. And I hit search. Just by that search, I'm going to get a whole pile of recipes that are off label as well. Like for instance, there's that ground beef udon noodle stir fry, but there's also a gingery turkey rice bowl. I had no idea that existed. Lettuce wrapped fish cakes. All of a sudden you've got other options for recipes. But if I go back to that recipe finder, there's also some other ways that you can search. Maybe you have dietary restrictions, dietary preferences. Maybe you're looking for garlic free or you're looking for sugar conscious. You can put those in as options for searching. You can also say, well, I've got chicken or I've got beef or I want it to be vegan. I can choose whatever way I want it to go. So you can start your recipe rebel adventure by just searching what Epicure already has available that's off label too. So that's number one way, well, number one in two ways that I wanted to share. The other way I wanted to share is this is literally what I was doing. And you can tell what I was looking at lately on my Pinterest. But if I go on, pad thai is one, I'll be honest, I don't recipe rebel this very often. I don't know this flavor very well. But if I look up, there's a spice in here called tamarind. So if I look on Pinterest, I gotta make sure I spell it right, AR. If I look on Pinterest and I just type in tamarind, all of a sudden I've got different recipes. So it'll tell me different ways that I can use tamarind. So for instance, rice. So obviously I think if tamarind goes in rice, I could use pad thai in rice. If tamarind goes in a paste, then I could probably make a paste out of the pad thai. There's lots of ways that you could do that. with any of our products. So that's just another way that you can be a recipe rebel with just a super simple search on Pinterest. And that's honestly, that's how I do half of my recipe creation is just, I look at the ingredients on the back of the pouch and I go, how else could I use that? So there, guys, I hope you guys have learned some great nuggets of wisdom here on cooking off label. We do love how simple Epicure is. They make it simple for us. We can read the label. But like Stacy said, we've been cooking at home for 11 months now. And maybe your family's going, you know what, Mom, if you make that enchiladas the way you've made it every night for, the last 3 months, I'm going to rebel here on you. So I'm going to Google other ways to make enchiladas, right? We love our Epicure seasonings, but gosh, guys, sometimes you need to add a little bit of creativity in the kitchen just to keep your family happy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed what we shared today. This is our second stir crazy. So give me a stir up if you had fun today and learned lots. And we are doing this again, the last Saturday of March. So, it's February, so math is easy. It'll be March 27th. And we are going to do what we're calling the ABCs. We're going to do all about cookware. So we want to show you ways that you can use your cookware in different ways that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So if you guys are interested in joining, there will be a survey coming your way. If you shared your email address with us, there'll be a survey so you guys can give some help to us to let us know how we did. If there's things that you wanted to share with us, things that you needed help with us, we'll reach out to you guys as well. And if you would like to partake in the next one, there will be a registration link ready to go for that as well on the survey. Or you can just reach out to your consultant and let them know that you had fun and you want to do this again. So I think that wraps up everything. Stacy,